everyone, Gigs here. Or not. Where am I? Good question. Was wondering that myself. What has happened? I don't know. Because I don't have invisibility on. No potion effects, you can see me there. Got my armor on. Got my totem. I don't know what's going on. This is spooky. Spooky. Never mind. You don't actually need to see me, I suppose. Maybe not. Let's see. Anyway, today we are looking at one of the latest snapshot releases, and that is composting. Woohoo! Everyone needs a good composter. I've already got some pre-made ones there, but they're fairly easy to craft. It is just a matter of 4 fences, and it can be any fence types, and 3 planks, and it can be any plank type. So you can mix your wood types there, and then you get yourself a composter. So there is a couple of ways you can do this. You can either do it manually by just placing your composters and manually putting things in, or you can set it up with the good old chest and hopper setup. So if we go chest, why am I doing that? Hopper, compost. Now in this, you can't, I've tried putting the hopper to the side and it doesn't seem to work, so it does seem like you need to plonk it up there in order for it to go in, which is fine and dandy. It's actually quite a nice looking block as well, gives you something different to put in within your builds, even if you're not going to use it as a composter. Personally myself, I don't see a use for this other than it being a building block, something extra to add in your landscaping bits and pieces as an actual functional item, unless you're brand new onto a server and you're desperate for resources. The payoff for what you're putting into these doesn't seem worth it. So if we were looking at a standard setup, we would just be getting something like carrots, and we would place our carrots in here, and you'll see that it fills up almost every time I put a carrot in there. Almost. It has 8 levels to it till it gets to the point where it's full, and you can see that it's completed composting because it's got that kind of different texture. So the initial texture is sort of podzol looking, and then you get this one here, and if I click it again I get a bone meal. So for my 10ish carrots that I put in there, I got 1 bone meal. Not such a great payoff. Again though, most people want bone meal because they want to grow food. So my placing 8 carrots in there to get 1 bone meal seems counterproductive. Although in saying that, wheat seeds are normally easy to grab, so you can always put in the wheat seeds, but you don't get as good a return on wheat seeds. So you can see that I'm putting in all those wheat seeds and it barely moved it. So let's try out a few other bits and pieces. So you do get saplings as well. You can put saplings in here. Again, not much of a return on those. I put in all those and it didn't even got 1 level. But again, it is something that you have there. We also have mushrooms. You could make soup out of that, but you need both types of mushrooms in order to make soup. So if you only had 1 type of mushrooms, then maybe this is the way to go. You can see you get quite a good return on that. Still not 1 level per mushroom, and you can see that you can mix and match. It doesn't all have to be 1 type of thing that you're putting in there. So we also have Now some of these I haven't all tried, so this is a bit of a trial and error to see if it works. Oh, there we go, cactus. Although again, your return's not great, but as we know, in the middle of a desert, it can, you can have lack of food, because it's not, apart from finding villages where there's crops, there's not an awful lot of food options in the desert. So growing cactuses is an option. Now I'm going to just quickly sleep. Mojang released a new version of the snapshot this morning, so that means that I can now sleep in bed to not have my game crash, which is fantastic. Yeah, so cactus is an option. I mean, you can see cactus everywhere. It's easy to set up a quick cactus farm and collect yourself some cactus. So that is one option. Kelp. So again, you're not getting much out of this. This is just as bad as the seeds. However, kelp is super easy to get. It grows quite fast in water, and you can get that. But kelp is also a food source, so I'm like, but again, these are options. Let's just go to you and you. You only get one bone meal too, so it's not like it's even a random thing. Let's look at cocoa beans. Do we get cocoa beans? Oh yes, cocoa beans. How good are they? Oh, cocoa beans are good. Cocoa beans are fairly easy to harvest, but again, if you're in a jungle, you're likely to get watermelons, and watermelons is a food source. Talking of melons, so they're not the worst, but you still don't get an awful lot out of those. Beetroot. Again, beetroot soup, but it works. Just going to pop these into the hopper so that we can see that they go through and create our bone meal at the other end. So let's try. Okay, so sugarcane. Although that almost seems like a waste if you're doing trading in bits and pieces. But if you've got a decent sugarcane farm, it would work. What about netherwort? Netherwort, it won't take netherwort, so netherwort's a bust. Apples and berries. So apples work, so apples, not quite 1 for 1, but pretty close. Berries. Oops. Oh, they work. Berries are fairly easy to harvest if you get them, but again, if you've got berries, you can eat them. Oops, see, we're definitely getting our bone meal coming through there. Wheat. Don't think you can do fish and the likes, no. So you can't do that. Flowers you can, so flowers are quite good. So if, again, if you're starting off, getting flowers is really easy to get, and then get yourself some bone meal from there in order to turn into real food. So it's still fairly straightforward, and again, getting the hopper set up just makes it that much easier. So I don't want to waste my wheat. So that is all the food that I had on there. So has its use if you're new to a server and you need bone meal, but if you've got a skelly grinder, that's going to be just as quick and easy. And if you've got the ability to kill skellies during the night, or even in dark spots going caving and stuff, it's probably almost a quicker and cheaper way of getting bone meal. But this is definitely safer if you're new, you don't have armor, you don't want to take on mobs. It's a way of getting some bone meal and getting some food. And again, it's not a totally ugly looking block for you to be able to use. So another change we have is the campfires. They must have gotten a bit of feedback on campfires and how not exactly campfire-y that they looked. They were a little bit odd looking. So they've changed the look of the block, and you can see now that it is, who would even send out little ashes. You can see it's more of block, looks more like logs, sort of sitting there with a little bit more of a realistic flame. Looks like those are your ashes below there. You can almost even see the embers glowing a little bit, so that's kind of cool. It's a nice little look. You can still place your food on there and get it to cook. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do like the way that when you put the food on there you can actually see it and it's cooking away there. It's kind of cute. Smoke signals going on. Again, still a slow way of cooking your food, but it given that you're crafting it with a one piece of coal, then it is allowing you to have a cheaper way of cooking your food. Yes, obviously, yes, you still take. I've got fire protection on, so I'm not taking heaps of damage, but you can see it is attempting to set me on fire. Where's my fire protection? Projector. Fire protection on that. Fire protection on that. So if I take those off, you'll see that I start to a little bit quicker there. So there we go. Lots of fun. So those, apart from other bug fixes that they've done, well, they caused a few bugs with the release they did this week. Things like you couldn't shoot arrows without them hanging in the air for a couple of blocks. Even skellies and pillagers firing arrows at you, the arrows would just suspend. But they've fixed that. They've also fixed supposedly the villager breeding, so I should now be able to breed my villagers and actually get villagers with professions. So I will be trying that out shortly. I can now sleep in my bed without it crashing my game, which is a nice thing. So they have done a little bit of bug fixing. Bugs that they cause themselves, but that is the way that it is. But I hope that you've liked this episode. Again, while this may not be uber effective and helpful for some people, it is a nice building block, and we've got the pretty campfires there, and I am still invisible, so fun. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you.